Hello everyone, welcome to the story of Wishmaster, part 2b. A few days after making part 2, YouTube recommended a video to me about how life began. And I don't know if that was a coincidence or not, but it made me think I should revisit the question of living things. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that video and also what I said in part 2. Specifically, I said that the distinction between living things and non-living things is a human invention. As a species, we like to put things into categories. And it seems obvious why we do that. It's just an incredibly useful and helpful thing to do most of the time. However, I think science has told us that many of our categories are made up of much simpler components. If you look at the sciences, for example, biology is the chemistry of living things. And then chemistry is the physics of atoms and their electrons. And then finally, physics is the study of objects and their interactions. We want to know how the objects change and how they move. It can be about the largest objects, such as planets, stars and galaxies, or the smallest ones, such as quarks, electrons and photons. But on an everyday level, it's the laws of physics that make everything work. Now, generally speaking, physics just doesn't deal with the composite objects. That's where chemistry, biology, engineering, psychology, economics, and many other disciplines come in. All right, I've digressed a little. About the video that was recommended to me, it's a very good one by Arbin Ash. I'll put a link in the description and I'll put a link up there too. So let's talk a little bit about that now. One observation about life that I've made is that a defining characteristic of living things is that they appear to be independent agents in a free world. But at the same time, they appear to be completely bound by the laws of physics. And that's puzzling. It's a paradox. How can they be both of those things? I don't know the answer, and scientists usually just talk about the second part. This idea that it's the laws of physics and the laws of chemistry that make everything work. All right. Our world can be an unfriendly place though, and living things need to establish an identity as well as growing and reproducing, and perhaps the most important thing, they need to survive. Darwin wrote about that in detail in his book on the origin of species. Later on, we all just simplified what he'd said by saying that life is a struggle for survival and it's survival of the fittest. Of course, that's an oversimplification and it's often misinterpreted, but that's a story for another video and another day. In Arbin Ash's video, he talks about how chemistry was most likely responsible for creating the very first living cells. And at the beginning of the video, he wonders how the unremarkable processes of nature could create something as remarkable as life. Now, I would say it's because those processes are remarkable. And indeed, that's what he goes on to talk about. And in this context, when we talk about evolution, we can mean one of two things. One meaning is about chemicals moving and changing as a result of the laws of physics. And the other is long-term changes of living things as a result of natural selection. Natural selection tells us that some changes are favoured over others. and those changes are the ones that are more likely to survive. It's what you might call the test of time. I think that phrase works a bit better than survival of the fittest. Anyway, the point is, both of these forms of evolution are remarkable. They really are. One analogy for chemistry is that the individual elements, and by elements I mean the actual chemical elements like hydrogen and oxygen, they're like the notes on a piano. A piano has 88 keys on it, and there are 92 naturally occurring elements. So it kind of works. And the diverse and complex chemistry that we see all around us, well, that's like notes combining to make music. Okay, as far as selection is concerned, that's possible and even necessary because we find ourselves in a world that both helps us and it harms us. So living things have always had to adapt to a changing and challenging environment. And I suspect that the evolution of complex life, like animals and humans, actually depends on this. So if you think about a planet that is too harsh, life won't be created at all. On the other hand, if you have a planet that's too nice, there'll be life, but it just won't become as complex and diverse as ours. That's just me digressing again and wondering about it all. What I will say is that the video from Arvin Ash is very good and I highly recommend it. So please do watch it. One thing that really stood out for me was the part towards the end. He starts talking specifically about the chemistry and the physics. And he says that from a physics point of view, the one thing that distinguishes living things from non-living things is its ability to capture energy and convert it to heat. But is that correct? My immediate thought was, don't stars do that too? And then I thought to myself, machines? And what about clouds? Clouds make thunder and lightning. I don't think the sun is alive, but I'm glad that it provides the heat to keep me warm. And I have mixed feelings about machines, thanks to James Cameron and Arnold Schwarzenegger. And I have mixed feelings about clouds, thanks to Joni Mitchell. Anyway, this brings me back full circle to my original point, that I don't really see a big difference, or even any difference, between living and non-living things. I'm going to claim that ultimately it's all about the chemistry and the laws of physics. And perhaps the fundamental aspects might just be energy, complexity, and change. Based on that, I have a simple hypothesis for you to ponder. But before we do that, I have another video to recommend. It's another video from Sabine Hossenfelder. In this one, she talks about complexity. I'll put a link in the description, and again, there should be a link at the top of the screen. If you want to pause the video and watch both of those videos first, do that now if you haven't already. This is the hypothesis. In our universe, complexity and entropy are fundamental aspects that increase with time. Useful energy creates more and more complexity. But in doing so, the useful energy is converted from a usable form into an unusable form. That's the entropy part. Now, maybe if I present that idea in pictures, it will make it clearer. I should say that I haven't started at time 0, because what happened in the Big Bang is a bit fuzzy, to say the least, and not everyone is entirely sure about it. I'm certainly not. Okay. Maybe I'm oversimplifying all of this, but maybe I'm not. Let me know what you think.